I feel like the more we share, the more we talk about it, we just find the people, it'll spread. It's happening. When you go to the World Happiness Summit or the Wellbeing at Work at Peloton, these are thousands of people getting together because it's like a sport, definitely a movement. And I feel so happy to be a part of it. And it's catching on more and more. Find those people because negative people and angry people, it's just not healthy to be around, and you need to get away from that toxicity. And as soon as you do and you find people that are like-minded, first of all, you'll be healthier and you'll be happier, but then you'll be able to go find more people and add to your group and your communities. And you all should be nice to each other. So find your people because they're out there and it's growing like wildfire.
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change. And that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it.
I want to be able to model but mentor just by leading a life of example. It's a lot easier just to show rather than it is to tell. you know? And so, for my wife and I, it's really is we want to inspire a million role models because we get a bunch of other people out there modeling and mentoring the right habits. And I don't even want to say the right because that implies that there's wrong habits. I think there's habits that hold us back and there's habits that move us forward. But the right things to help you get to where you want to get, that gets us very excited because we know it's a big ripple
Available
effect.
everywhere
And
you
that's how we
listen to
truly
your
influence
podcasts.
change. It's a big ripple effect.
Mhm.
And that's how we truly influence change.
Back, Impact Heroes. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact hero, and she is a special one indeed. Our guest today connects people to purpose, balance, and well being. And her mission is to make well being accessible to everyone. She wants to better companies, communities, families, and ourselves. We all need to be a little bit better. She previously built an integrated content agency that was highly recognized with numerous awards and led a team that helped national and global brands achieve more than 10 billion in growth. That's a big number. Her work has been featured in Ad Age, Ad Week, Art Direction Archive, Art Directors Club, DA&D, and US Ad Review, just to name a few. She's not only an amazing leader to her team in business, she's also a mother of three and a devoted wife of over 26 years. She loves mentoring young women and working moms as much as she loves the beauty of the beach. She wants to help us all be good humans and a force for good in the world, and is an overall wonderful human being herself. Please welcome the authentic, driven, passionate, and amazing founder of LoopWell, Deb Looney. Deb, welcome to the Iceberg Change podcast.
Hi, Rick. Nice to see you. And thank you so much for having me here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We were kind of chatting off air for a second there, and I was like, "Wait, we have to hit record because you're sharing some very interesting stuff."
Oh, I'll
So,
have to redo it. I have to redo it.
yes. So before we get, yeah, you were sharing how you were at the Happiness Summit, which I do want to hear. I do want you to share with
Yeah.
our audience because I think they'll find that interesting. Before we get to that, we have you on the program because we see you as someone who's spreading positive change in the world, someone whose actions have a positive effect on humanity, and someone that, by virtue of that, we call a social impact hero. Now that's our definition, which is an acronym, and we may get to that in the program. So the first question I have for you, Deb, is we see you as a social impact hero. Do you see yourself as a hero?
Well, that's a big word. And no, no, especially when you go to the World Happiness Summit and you are meeting unbelievable heroes that have been doing this a lot longer than me. And, you know, doctors and scientists, authors of 90 books. I mean, like people that have been really kind of trailblazing for a lot longer than me. But so I think I just was mentioning to you that Professor Lord Richard Layard had said during the summit that we are all missionaries, right? So I'm kind of like, I'm a student, I'm a teacher, I'm along the journey with you and with others. So that's kind of how I'm finding my place. I want to, my job is to bring all the thought leaders, the experts, and the heroes. I'm trying to find them and bring them, like you, here in person. So people, just regular people, can learn about, what's happening and try to empower themselves so they can be healthier. So that's my job. I'm trying to find all the heroes and bring them so people can hear and listen to them.
Okay, so maybe a behind the scenes hero.
Yeah.
We'll call you for now. So thank you
Okay.
for answering the question, Deb. So in that, has that something that has always been a passion of yours, or is that something that evolved along your journey? Because like as you said, we're all on a journey. We all go through what I call the hero's journey, like Joseph Campbell, where it's going to have ups and downs and pitfalls and dragons to slay and wins and losses. Has this been a passion of yours for a long time, or is this something new? And where does that come from?
I mean, in general, I've always just been a person that give back, and I love humanity and people and animals. So I've always just been that kind of person. I've never been into like designer labels or materialism. I just that's just my how I was as a kid. I used to like, back in the day, if I say the word Jordache, that might be dating me. But I remember like as a kid, like crossing, like coloring in, sharpening the label because I don't want people to see that I had this designer gene. I've always just kind of been like, just want to be like a real grounded person. So that was like my personal story. But as my work and my career really wasn't driven, I was in advertising, and I think everything happens for a reason. I definitely was in that industry. That made me realize that's, really not where I want to spend all of my time unless I can create some kind of change. So I'm using my experience, the content creation that I've been doing for, over 30 years. And now I'm kind of turning that to have a messaging for good. So I love how it kind of pivoted and turned my journey, and now I'm taking all my skills of that storytelling that I built for 30 years, and now I'm able to tell a different story instead of, pixels and algorithms and sales. I'm talking about well-being and about, this other word of community. So it was at my core, and now I'm actually able to like practice it every day in my career now, my new journey, as opposed to just being my own personal passion. Now it's actually I can use it towards my work, which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice because I've been on a I took a similar path with my own work a few years ago in 2020 where I shifted my focus, created iSpark Change and took essentially, like you said, the skills that I had acquired along my journey and the things I had learned to use in the service of others. So what brought that? So it was always there, as something that was always a part of who you were. And I love the Jordache example. And I remember that. I remember that fondly. I was not, my sisters were wearers of Jordache jeans. I was not, but I do remember them very well in the
Yeah.
commercials, especially. So what brought it to the surface? What brought that idea, or how did the idea for, your new business and what you've created, how did that come to the surface and how did, it come to life?
So, I remember, so I just remember years ago, I was sitting in a meeting. I had an advertising agency, and I just remember being in a meeting. It must have been like 6 years ago, and I remember my media director, we were with a client, and they said, and then we could put a pixel on their website, and then we'll be able to like track them. And this is for like, it was for a children's brand. And,
Mhm.
we could find out like when they're shopping and what they're doing. And I just remember being frozen in the meeting going, wait, what? What are we doing? What's happening? And AI was just really starting to take off. And this was years ago. We had privy to it very early because we were in the industry. And I saw it all happening. This humanity losing connection. I saw that very early because I'm in the communications field. Then you throw in COVID, and that really just did it.
Mhm.
So I knew then that something had to change for me personally, and also I just knew there was an opportunity. So we I found this beautiful space. It's a 7,000 square foot space in Montclair, New Jersey. We're very off the beaten path, and we originally renovated it really for a production studio, kind of like piggyback off the agency. And then we started building it and renovating it, and my husband, who's my partner, is like, why is there a yoga studio in our production studio? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm going to do something with that. So it was kind of always going to be my little passion. It was going to be my side hustle. So the idea was companies and corporations were going to come here, use the space for product launch, production, different corporate offsites, and then all of a sudden, and then that money was going to be put towards community events. So that was the original. The original name was actually Loop. So it was a loop. It's like companies
Mhm.
need to pay it forward, and we were just making a vehicle to make it easier for them.
Yep.
So that was the concept, and we were doing really well. We would have, different brands would come in, have product launches, and then the community part, which was all night events, some morning movement, meditation, vision boarding, journaling. We had so many amazing community events that were originally offered to the community for free for 3 months over the summer. It took a life of its own, and I realized that there is a major need. People are coming here and they're lonely, they're working 5 days a week from home. They just would come and they would stay, and I thought this was a whole other thing that took over. It wasn't even the original concept.
Hmm.
We were listening and we said, "Wait a minute." So now we are opening up a membership, which is starting in very soon. We're opening our second location actually in New York because it's growing so fast. And now we're really focusing on community events and corporate events because you have to keep it spinning. You have to have it running
Hmm.
somehow. We're not a nonprofit, so we have to, one helps the other and we can build community together. So we officially launched LoopWell because now we're combining the two together, and it's been unbelievable. People come here, the testimonials are, I want to come all the time. This is my new home. This is my third space. And people are really learning and, taking back their health because, listen, our healthcare is a mess and we need to educate ourselves and empower ourselves. So we've taken this well-being wheel. Basically, it's a well-being wheel, and we're
Hmm.
chipping away at all the different things here. And we have workshops, classes, and different experiences that are helping you do that. So it's just a space, it's a place, it's a hub for people to come for well-being, to practice well-being.
Well, it sounds fantastic and something that if it was closer, I would be a part of for sure.
Yeah.
Because I one of the things that we've been building for the past few years with iSpark Change is a community. It is a
Yeah.
community, and I remember reading on your website about that third place, third space that people need.
Yeah.
People are seeking that community, especially after COVID. That I think that really amplified the need, as I think you saw that as well. That it amplified the need to have community more than ever. And so, what have been some of obviously it kind of like you said, it took a life of its own, and the community kind of dictated where it sounds
They
like
really
where it
did.
would go. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what have been some of these, we'll term it successes, that have come out of that community building or the community events, or how have you seen it affect the lives of those that have been a part of some of the different events?
I mean, people come here, and let's say we have a 2-hour workshop from 7 to 9. I mean, we don't leave till 10 sometimes. People are sitting on the couch. I'm like, "Oh, did you guys know each other?" They said, "No, we just met." They're hugging, they're kissing, they're exchanging numbers. It's a big networking group. We have, well, not small, but we're starting like a women's empowerment, women's entrepreneurship. So there's definitely that focus that we have. People are just really engaging. They don't know anything about breath work, and they're learning how to like actually calm their sympathetic nervous system down, like without taking medication. Like everything that we're doing is science backed, evidence based, very much so. All our facilitators, all instructors, all our coaches are certified, and people are buying into that. They might shy away from like meditation or healing, the words healing or things that are too spiritual. People shy away from that. When you merely give it to them very, very evidence based and you give it to them like 101, we kind of give people introductory to, different a sound bath. Like, what is a sound bath? How can it really benefit me? Or journaling, or we have nutritional classes, Ayurvedic medicine, or Ayurvedic kitchen cooking and spices. How do you bring down your inflammation? These are all things that are really, really helpful that people really need. That our general healthcare system is not really doing that. There's not a lot of preventative, as you know. It's getting better. It's getting a lot better. But
Hmm.
this is just a place for people to empower themselves and learn. how to make themselves healthy, happier, their families, and their companies and their teams, because corporate is really, really leaning into wellness and well-being. As you know, it's blowing up. I just went to the well-being at work summit at Peloton, at the Peloton headquarters, and like big players were there. Everybody's embracing it, and everybody, there's chief health, wellness officers, chief happiness officers, people officers. Everybody's embracing this because statistically, as I learned at the happiness summit, the US has fallen off the list for the
Ooh.
first time in, I think it's 2015. So that's a big deal. So we need a lot of help here. And that's a big stat that is, I think, a shocker for everybody, especially a country that we have everything to be
Mhm.
happy, right?
Yeah.
So we are in a mental health crisis. We are in the loneliness epidemic. You've been reading about it. So what can we do about it? So there's so many amazing online and virtual platforms and communities, and it's great to spread the message as fast and as much as we can. But if
Mhm.
we do our part, we're trying to maybe bring it to the local communities. And we're only one here, in our flagships in Montclair, New Jersey, and we're kind of going into New York now because we want to like put ourselves on the map. But the goal is there should be a loop well everywhere or something like this everywhere so people can gather together and just practice self-care and well-being. Not like a gym, it's not a gym, it's not a spa. Everyone's like, well, what is it? It's a third space. It's like your third place, really, for just well-being. So that's what we're
Yeah,
trying to
and connection.
do.
Yeah. Are so you talk about a lot of the different modalities that, some of those I'm very familiar with, and I've done most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah.
What Because I believe in all of those, and they're all a part of my life. Just recently, well, within the past 6 months, started doing some breath work, and that it's been fantastic. I've been meditating for years, but specifically some specific breath work
It's
classes, and it's
very different. Yes,
fantastic.
it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different. So, have a lot of the different modalities that you mentioned, were those a part of your life? Have those been a part of your personal journey? Have you experienced all of these on your own, or are these all newer to you as well? How did those all come into the fold?
So I was diagnosed with an autoimmune 17 years ago. So that kind of started my own personal journey of having to like deal with it and having, a lot of alternative. That's when I discovered alternative. That's when I discovered yoga, a little bit of meditation, learning about, gut health. And, you know, that was kind of early on, that I did dig deep into it. But I kind of took it to like a very light level, because I didn't really understand. Now I just did my first Wim Hof cold plunge
Mhm.
last week, actually, and I've never done anything like that before. So that I'm always learning, always learning. I've gotten deep into breath work and really learning how to actually use it. But the cold plunging is now my new fun thing. I'm planning on getting a bath just for my backyard because I think it's really amazing and very, very therapeutic. Have you done it, Rick?
Well, so it's funny that you should ask because I actually own a facility, Revive Biohacking, where we have cold plunge
Oh,
tubs, infrared
I was
saunas.
reading about that, the biohacking. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I've been cold plunging for a while now, and it is fantastic. You feel incredible. The benefits are amazing. The sleep, the recovery. I mean, everything is incredible. And like you, I've come across different things as I've gotten older to help in the longevity and the
Yeah.
recovery, and just looking for better ways to, as you said, self care, Deb. Better ways to just optimize your health. I mean, our tagline is, we optimize your health naturally through science and technology, and and that's what I believe is that there's so many alternative, if you want to call them, ways to do so. That the fact that you're bringing, spreading awareness of that is fantastic, and you have a space, as you call it, a third place, third space for people to go and do that. That I think it provides a lot of benefit because so many people, they just don't know. They've never experienced those type of things, and you're just turning them on to something new.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really, and I love what you're doing. I'm gonna find out more about the biohacking. I wish we were closer. you know. But
Well, hopefully, God willing, we'll have one in
LoopWell in
we'll be
LoopWell,
franchising, and we'll have one
yeah.
over
Yeah,
there.
we can, oh, we would love to have you come and do like a workshop. That would be amazing. So yes, I'm always, and just even little things. Like I just went to, part of my job is I get to kind of search for well-being all over. So like
Hmm.
I love going to retreats. Of course, they're fun. Um, but the problem is with retreats, as you know, I mean, they're so expensive. I mean, and that's the problem. Like you could spend $3,000 going to like a retreat in Mexico or Arizona, and it's only 1 week. So the whole concept here is to take this here and make it accessible to people and affordable to people, that they
Yeah.
could just drive 20 minutes or even an hour and experience something that they would go to, like Savannah out in Arizona and then get to fly there, which is amazing. But even little things, I just went to a retreat recently
Hmm.
and my daughter signed us up for watercoloring. And I was like, oh, I'd rather do the sound bath or I'd rather do something more fitness because I really, she's like, no, no, let's do the watercolor. I haven't done watercoloring. I actually have a BFA in design and graphic design. I did watercoloring. It was amazing. It was so relaxing, and I can't even believe how calm I felt, and I thought, "This we're gonna," and I came back to my team, I'm like, "We're doing watercoloring." So we're actually have, somebody that's on, she does meditation and watercoloring, and
Interesting.
I'm so excited for the class. So I'm always learning and trying to find things out there and bring them here because I think it's gonna be a really great class. So you never know what you can find out there and the benefits that people get. And of course, we'll throw in a little bit of wine or some kind of
Yep.
tea because we're always making it. We're always, besides it being accessible and affordable, we always want to make it fun because well-being doesn't always have to be so serious and
Hmm.
so and just quiet. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
me, with the last name Looney. I'm not like a real quiet person. I think there's a time and place to kind of just reset yourself, but then I also think you could practice well-being and wellness with a group and have fun. So that's like something very, very important to me. And people are really responding to that because they get intimidated. You get intimidated by, the yoga instructors that's doing like a back bend or twist. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't do yoga. I don't know how to do that. So we're making it very light here, just like an exposure to it.
Yeah.
And then if you want to take it further, we don't leave you stranded. We say we have all these amazing coaches and instructors that if you want to take it further, if you want to do more chakra balancing, or if you want to do something else, we have amazing people here that we can say, you know, get a package with, Carol or whoever, and they can continue on their journey. So we
Hmm.
just give them a little bit of an exposure and then they could take it further. So that's another thing that we're doing, which I think is important.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind, Deb, is accessibility. Is that for a lot of individuals, they wouldn't normally have access to things like this, or they wouldn't know about them, and you're making it very accessible so they can try it. And yeah, it's interesting you talk about the watercoloring. I'm thinking back, I'm like, man, the last time I did watercoloring may have been with my daughters when they're all grown now, and it may have been with my
Yeah.
daughters when they were young, when they were young, and so I'll have to check that out. Maybe it's something my wife and I can go do. We always like to try these new and different things. So
Yeah.
we'll check out the watercoloring. So with all the things you're talking about, there's community, accessibility, self-care. How do you define a big part of what we consider social impact hero is that you honor your purpose. So what would you define as your purpose for yourself or, LoopWell, what would you say is your purpose, your mission?
Well, it's everything we've been saying, and even in our talk here, it's just bringing well-being and not wellness, right? Because people don't like, wellness and well-being are very different, right? Wellness is, it can either tap into like medical and health wellness. That's a whole other, world. It could also
Mhm.
tap into more like spa and pampering and like kind of wellness, taking care of yourself. Well-being is more of like a full body holistic thing. And if you ever seen the well-being wheel, and people have, some people, a lot of people are like, I don't even know what a well-being wheel is. Like, what are you talking about? And it's, there's spiritual, there's occupational, career, there's um, physical, mental. There's all different aspects of it. And some people, and when we do this when we do this wheel, it's amazing how people can see when they actually do the how disformed their their points are in the wheel, and they could be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow, I never realized that how low I am there. So our mission is to bring well-being to everyone, and connect them to purpose, balance in their community all the time, and make it accessible every day. So another problem is people go on these retreats and they learn how to meditate. They meet a community of people at the end of the week. They're like, "Oh my God, I love you," and then you go home and you never meditate. You're
Yeah,
like, "What? Oh, I know I'm supposed to do it," or "How do I do it again?" Or and then you don't even keep in touch with those people. So
yeah.
this is we're trying to get people to make it consistent, continuous in their life, because well-being is not a one-shot deal. You're not going to go on a retreat and then come back and you're healed. This is something that
Mhm.
you have to practice every day. Learning how to eat healthier or cleaner, learning how to practice mindfulness every day, putting movement and some kind of like movement in your life. And also, we're toy with on our wheel, we're toying with like occupational and financial. We're trying to find our little sweet spot, because I really don't want to go deep into like financial
Mhm.
well-being, but it's a part of your life, right? So how can we incorporate, how do you avoid burnout? That is huge for so many of our people coming here. They either got burnt out or they're on their way to burnout. So we're trying to say, how do you keep yourself balanced in your life, juggling family, career? So we have a lot of workshops, that we have a lot of authors and speakers that are talking about that, avoiding burnout. So that taps into your occupational part of your wheel.
Mhm.
So we're really trying to go with all aspects, and spirituality is a very, very big thing. We combine East and West modalities here all the time. They are like in sync. It's we've had big corporations come here for like some kind of meeting or an offsite, and there are grown adults sitting on the floor doing meditation, and it happens all the time, and this is the first time they're doing it. So we're not afraid to combine it and say this should be part of life now, and people are loving it, especially people that have never done it before. So it's becoming one. We're all integrating together.
Yeah, the other the other thing I would say is exposure is just exposing
Yeah.
people to new things because when we're it's been my experience, when we're young, at least what I've seen is, you want to try a lot of things. Oh, try this sport, see if you like it. Try that, try different
Mhm.
things. You're kind of open. And then as a lot of us age, you kind of get set in these ruts or, and then you get the burnout and everything because there's no newness. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. So to have exposure to all these different modalities, I know that's worked for me and so many others that I know and people at our business that just to be exposed to new things and say, wow, I never knew that, like you said, that this some executive doing meditation, knowing that, wow, you mean I could calm that brain down a little bit or slow that down, or that's going to help me with my focus. I mean, that's the biggest thing I noticed with
Yeah. With
meditating for the past
breathing,
3 years.
breathing.
Yeah.
People are like shocked,
Yeah.
because part of our Wim Hof, it's like a 4-hour experience, and a good hour and a half is just the breath work, because you
Hmm.
can't go into the cold plunge, because we have certified facilitators, and unless you have to learn how to really do the breathing in order to get into it's like 30-degree ice
Hmm.
water, and people come here for the cold plunge. You get some of these like guys that are like, I'm going to cold plunge, and then they are blown away by the breath work.
Yeah.
They're like, "Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I thought I just had to do it to get in the plunge." But they walk away saying, "That was bigger than the plunge,"
Yeah.
because they learned this tool, and they have emotional experiences because we share afterwards. And I have like, grown men who are like C-suite executives, like tearing up in the class. And they're like, wow, I went to a place that I've never been. I don't know what's happening here, but they'll take this and they'll do something with it, or they'll explore it, or they're definitely going to be googling things when they get back home, and they're like, what does this mean? My sympathetic nervous system, my parasympathetic nervous system, because they do a lot of science explanation, these instructors, and
Hmm.
telling you what this is all about and how this is working. So we definitely give people a lot to think about when they leave, and then they go and explore, and they come back and they want more, which is nice. So I love that you do the breath work. I could say it, am I allowed to? I'm 56, I don't care,
You could say
but
whatever you
I
want.
learned how to breathe at 50 years old, like for the first time in my life. Like I learned how to breathe properly. I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy to me. One of my yoga instructors, and I was having panic attacks, and I've never had them before. And I said, "Can you help me? Can you do some private yoga with me?" And so I went to the first class, and she's like, "We're not going to do any yoga today. I'm just going to teach you how to breathe." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Hmm.
And she's like, "Well, look at you. It's all in your chest.
Yeah.
You have to breathe out of your stomach." And like she's
Hmm.
teaching me how to like push the air in my abdominal, and I was like, "This doesn't seem natural." And she goes, "Well, it doesn't because you're not used to it." And then I just practice it. And it's funny because my husband's a pretty calm guy. And I remember I went home that night and I looked at him in bed and his stomach's going up and down and up and down. And I hit him and I said, "Is that how you normally breathe?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Why are you breathing out of your stomach?" And he's like, "I don't know. That's just how I breathe." And
Yeah.
so I had to learn how to breathe the right way because I
Yeah.
wasn't breathing right. And it was all coming from here. And that's why I was always so jittery and, you know, nervous. And then I had the panic attack. So now like I know that I just have to take just a few, and I don't have to do an hour meditation class. People misunderstand that, oh, meditation has to be like candles and dark and an hour. I can literally just be in my car for 3 minutes and I could just take some deep breaths. And it's like I took a Xanax. I mean, I have a tool now that I can use when I need it. And that's the goal, is to give people tools so they can go back into their lives and try to like figure this out because we all need a lot of tools right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just let you know, you're not the only one that needs to learn how to breathe. So when I discovered yoga probably 10 years ago, same thing happened with me. And, I'd been an athlete all my life and I had to relearn. So I'm 52, almost 53, and I had to relearn around the age of 40 with yoga and CrossFit how to breathe properly because I wasn't supporting my spine and all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
you're not alone. It's not always easy. Although babies do belly breathe just naturally. So somewhere along the lines, it gets messed up.
I
So
didn't know that. See?
yeah, yeah. So your husband, he just continued on that path.
Yeah, he stayed a baby. Yeah. Yeah, but he was,
But
yeah, he's very calm. So that's interesting about. I'm gonna see.
yeah.
The minute I get off the phone, I'm gonna go look at baby breathing and find out about that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so for some of us it just changed, but anyways, well, thank you for sharing everything, Deb, about the different modalities and everything. We'll make sure we put links in the show notes, so any upcoming events, when we release the show, and so people can check everything out. So I do want to share before we wrap up. How can our audience learn more about you, LoopWell? Where's the best place for them to connect and check things
So
out?
our website's loopwithus.com. And we're just the website just keeps growing. But if you just look at our events or our classes, and you'll see all different things that they can come to. And then check out our social, Loop Well with Us, or Instagram and LinkedIn. And we'll be opening up New York soon. And definitely follow us because we have a really special guest coming in June that I can't share right now, but it's very exciting. And maybe you can come, Rick. I'm gonna invite you. Did you
Okay,
think
cool. Yeah, thank you very much.
he would be worth jumping on a plane for, I promise. So,
Okay, okay,
I
good.
want to come visit, and I want to come visit you. So we'll keep in touch.
Yes, absolutely. So, two final questions before we go, Deb. Two final questions that we ask all our guests because, one thing we talk about on Iceberg Change are these spark moments in life where our actions have a ripple effect that goes far beyond the initial act. And it could be something that we do that affects someone else and you don't really see it until later, or that, someone else has affected you and you didn't really know until later. So, share a story, of a positive story of an example of a spark moment where either someone impacted you or you impacted someone that really affected that journey that you're on, that really changed the course of your journey.
So I'm going to give a shout out to Trina Paulus. Do you know Hope for the Flowers?
I've heard of that. Yes.
All right. Well, if you haven't read it, you have to read it. So this is a book that I had years ago when I was younger. It's an amazing. It's an allegory. I learned that fancy word. It's a children's book, and it's really an adult story, and it's really all about just getting off that caterpillar mountain and being present. It's about being present, and we're all on this fast track. Get to the top. Get to the top. Get to the top, and then I'm not going to spoil it, but there's really nothing there, right? So I've always loved this book. And my first child was going off to college about 5 years ago, almost when I was starting this place. And I said, I want to get that book for him so he could have it and put it on his shelf, because I would always refer back to it when things got too crazy in my life. I would take the book out and be like, we have to read this book. So anyway, when I bought it, I said, I wonder where this author lives. She's been so inspirational to me. I don't even know who this person is, Trina Pauls. And I Googled her and I found out she was in Montclair, New Jersey, a mile from my house, which is like
Wow.
blew my mind. I mean, how could this person be so close? To me, that was a sign. That was like for sure some sort of impactful sign in my life that I said, I have to meet this woman. So I met her, and she has done story time here. We become very close. She's like a grandmother to me and to my children, and she's super inspirational. And she's like our mascot. She comes all the time, and she's very motivational and super humble, because she really should be like she's a legend and she should be more famous than she is, but she's really humble and she's an activist for just humanity and climate. But I'm working on it. I'm going to get her on Oprah. That's my goal. So she has been very important and has created a lot of impact in my life and has inspired me. And every time she comes, she gives this little words of wisdom, and I take it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw that out there now. Like, she gives me
Yeah.
these little seeds that I can
Mhm.
now bring to the people. I mean, she's 92, so
Wow.
you know she might live forever, but because she's taught me to, like, she'll literally we'll be walking and she'll see like a dandelion, like a weed. I kid you not, growing like out of the thing, and she'll just grab it and like eat it. And I'm like, oh my god, Shani, you're eating like a weed. She's like, dandelions are really great for inflammation. She has taught me so much
That's fantastic.
about life that I give her a lot of credit for this journey that I'm on. So I wanted to give her a little bit of a shout out, but that's just something that comes to mind to me that was impactful to me. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Deb. I
Read
love
the
the
book.
story.
Read the
Shout
book.
out to Trish. I love, that is a great example of a spark moment,
Yes.
multiple times over spark moment. So that's fantastic. So one final question before we wrap up. And it's about the future, because our goal at iSpark Change is to impact 1 billion people through our community and with the launch of our social impact social media platform. And so we know we can't do it alone. We know we need the help of impactful leaders like you to show others the way, because a lot of people feel, as I once did, that they're too small to make a difference. So we value your thoughts and opinions as a guest and a social impact hero. So I want you to peer into the future, peer into, our iceberg change crystal ball here, and tell me, what can the world become if everyone starts believing in that self-care and that well-being? How can that impact our future?
The community that I've been involved in the last couple of years, the people are truly just wonderful people. I'm meeting the most wonderful people in this world. Whereas my last, not my last world, but I I just was in a world where people are working and going to school and a lot of people are angry and there's a lot of fighting going on. And I get it. There's a lot of stuff going on. But the more and more people that you connect to yourself, like you, like Trina, the people that are come here, and we could have a 200-person event, and everybody is kind and loving, and it's unbelievable. You forget that there's all this turmoil going on outside in the world. You forget about what's happening for just that 1 hour or that moment. And if we could just keep growing this community and growing this community, your community, my community, all of a sudden you'll be in a store, and you might get that smile from that person that they normally would head down. Like, I know that I'm doing it. I know that when I'm somewhere, I try to make eye contact and I smile, or you do something nice, or you feel confident about talking about these new modalities that might be kind of like woo woo. But now I feel confident to be like, yeah, I do breath work. Whereas
Mhm.
before it might be like, ooh, I wouldn't say that. So I feel like the more we share, the more we talk about it, and we just find the people. I just keep finding more and more of my people. It'll spread. It's happening. I mean, when you go to like World Happiness Summit or the Wellbeing at Work at Peloton, like it's like these aren't like little groups. These are hundreds, thousands of people getting together because it's like a little force. It's like it's a movement by far. It's definitely a movement, and I feel so happy to be a part of it, and you're a part of it, and it's catching on more and more. So I just feel like if you're with people, this is my advice. If you're with a group of people that you don't feel what I'm trying to explain to you, find those people, because negative people and angry people, it's just not healthy to be around, and you need to kind of get away from that toxicity. And as soon as you do and you find people that are like-minded, you first of all, you'll be healthier and you'll be happier, but then you'll be able to go find more people and add to your group and your communities. So that's my advice to people, because I see people come in here all the time and they're like, I'm lonely, and we hug and say, you're not lonely anymore, or wow, everyone's so nice here. And we're like, yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Right? We all should be nice to each other. So find your people, because they're out there and it's growing like wildfires for sure. I feel.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, communities like yours make a difference, and that's what we're building at Iceberg Change. So, Deb, thank you for taking time to share your heart and wisdom with our audience. You came in and you over delivered as I expected. Your desire to be impactful is evident, and you're filled with passion, determination, and you lead with a heart of humility and service, which tells me you will continue to have success in
Yes.
LoopWell and in all facets of life. And this is only the beginning of your social impact. Thank you
Thank
very
you, Rick.
much.
And thank you for all you do also.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Impact Heroes, it's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Deb's today. Deb Looney, you're not only an inspiring and amazing human being, you truly are an iSpark Chain's social impact hero. We'll see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Performance made me feel some type of way. My name is Craig Siegel.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.